well as my closers, and I think they blew games a heck of a lot more in late innings than we did. But it was a great rivalry. It was good for baseball, and I remember the one night, they just think that Hart Johnson never hit over 11 home runs, and we knew his bat was corked, and I should have had a saw when I went out there to have Brungy check that bat, but he hit 30 home runs that year. And we had taken an x-ray of it in the clubhouse that day, and we knew it was corked. And I don't know why I didn't take an axe or a saw out there. We could have found out that he was cheating a little bit.
Hey, Ozzie, what about the style? It's one thing to win, but it's another thing to do it with kind of a swashbuckling style. In a sense, you were like a fast-breaking basketball team or a wide-open, creative offensive football team. That kind of added to the appeal of this team.
Well, it was just guys doing what they enjoyed doing. One of the great things with being able to play for a guy like Whitey Herzog is that there wasn't a whole lot of micromanaging. He did what all of us would hope to have when you play professionally. That's given the opportunity to go out and do what it is that you do. And we had the freedom to do that. We did it. We did it to the best of our ability. We enjoyed it. We knew that coming to the ballpark every day that we had a chance to win. And being the underdogs that we were, we just that just made us work that much more, a little bit harder, and we proved that we were a very competitive team. We didn't know whether or not we'd be able to win it all, but we knew that we were going to be competitive, and that's really all you can be every day. Just go out and be the best that you can be every day, and that's what we were.
Whitey, you're the only manager to have a style named after you.
Yeah, I'm kind of proud of that. I don't know what Whitey ball is, but
it just sounds fundamental baseball. You catch it,
but
throw
you got
it,
to
hit and
remember
run.
this. Jack come over here, he bought into what we did. Ozzie came over from San Diego, he bought into it. They were unselfish, and they played baseball the way we had to play as a team. And we, of course, had more speed than anybody. On a wet field, we were going to beat everybody. Our gaps went for triples. We'd still cut them off. But we could play defense. And one thing about team sports, when you can play defense, whether it's baseball, basketball, football, or hockey, and you can play defense, that's the one thing you can bring to the ballpark every night. And you always got a chance to win. You can win with a walk, you can win with an error, you can win with a blue pit. And that's the way we played and approached the game.
What did you tell Jack when he joined the team, and what did you tell Ozzie when he joined the team?
Well, I kind of liked Ozzie. And from the first time I went out there on December 26, 1981, and talked to him and Mr. Gottlieb and their wives, and we had a heck of a time. And I left there. I still didn't know whether Ozzie was going to come to St. Louis, and it might have been the greatest flight I ever made in my life, because I think I convinced him a little bit that St. Louis is the place to come. And when I got Jack, of course, I needed Jack. I mean, when we were able to get Jack, because we needed a big guy. We needed a big guy in the middle of that lineup, and I loved Jack when I watched him play at San Diego. And the one thing, the first real good conversation I had with Jack, I didn't know whether I wanted to play Andy in right field or Jack in right field and the other one at first base. And I went out one day and I did them both together. And of course I saw Andy try to play first base a few times, and I said, I better get him further away from the ball. And so I said to Jack, I said, would you be willing to move in and play first base? Now you got to remember, when Jack first signed a professional baseball contract, he was a third baseman. So Jack took to it like a duck taking the water, and was more than adequate at first base. Very good, and got good on throws, and our infield was glue tight when Jack made that move. That was the one move we made from 84 to 85. Getting Jack and getting him to agree to play first base was the real move. Just like the move in 81 when I was able to get Ozzie. He put the glue together for that ball club. And these two individuals, I wouldn't be here talking to you today if they didn't play for me.
And then the Hall of Fame announcement. Jack, when you hear the news, what was your reaction for Whitey? And
well, I was actually got a call from Rick Hummel. He called me. I was in the car, and Rick called me and said, "Whitey just got in the Hall of Fame," and I was choked up. I mean, I got a tear in my eye, and I felt I felt proud, and I was happy for a friend, and that they finally did something. The Hall of Fame did something right, and he was joining Ozzie and all the other great players and managers, and he deserves to be there. And I think it just was long overdue, and it just was it was one of the best days of my baseball career not being on the field, hearing that news. It really was,
And
especially
you-
coming from another Hall of Famer, Rick Hummel too. And I know Ozzie was an integral part of that all taking place. And just these are two of the best baseball people I've ever met and been around, and I've just been very lucky and very fortunate.
What did you do down there? Were you an attorney presenting his case, or it wasn't a tough sell, I guess?
I tell people all the time that certainly the process, and this was the first time I had a chance to be a part of the process. And what happens with the process is everybody's brought to the table, and there are discussions. Well, I certainly made my points known right off the bat. But as I told Whitey, the reason that he's in the Hall of Fame is because he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. It didn't take a whole lot of arm twisting for me. Once the conversation started, and of course I opened the conversation, but his life's work is what has him in the Hall of Fame. Certainly the fact that I was there to talk about it, but it didn't take a whole lot of convincing on my behalf, because all of the people in that room and some of the conversations had to do with the fact that you had part of a game change. The name of the game is changed because of this person. People talked about the fact that they had to approach the game differently when they managed against them, when they played against them. So his body of work really spoke for itself, and I think that the fact that he's in the Hall of Fame is he's there because he belongs. He belongs in the Hall of Fame.
You put any time in the speech yet? Have you worked on it at all?
I'm gonna hoof it. I only get 10 minutes. And it isn't tough for me to talk 10 minutes. I'm gonna have to talk fast so I can thank everybody that were the reasons I did get there. Like these ball players are sitting here right now. Thank you both for the nice comments and so forth. And I want to say one thing. Every time I'd answer a telephone call the first 4 or 5 days, I'd have 4 new messages when I got off the phone, and almost all my ball players have called me, and all my coaches have called me, and it's pretty nice when you get to speak to your ex-ball players and congratulate you for an honor like that. A couple of them called me, didn't say who they were, and they say, "Hey, Rat, congratulations, I'm proud of you. It should have happened a long time ago," and they didn't tell me who they were. And Mary Lou would say, "Who did you hear from so-and-so?" I say, "Hell, I don't know."
We'll take a timeout. Whitey Herzog, Jack Clark, Ozzie Smith. When we come back, I'll get a thought on Mark McGwire and Matt Holliday. The Fan KFNS, we have in studio the great Whitey Herzog, the great Ozzie Smith, and the great Jack Clark. All right, how about one quick Joaquin Andujar story from each of you?
He's definitely scared of snakes. We know that. we couldn't do that on days that he pitched, because he would not come back to his locker.
You put a snake?
Yeah, in his pants. They hang the pants that you're going to wear that day. They hang them outside the locker. And what we would do is we had a rubber snake that we could put in the freezer, and we put it in his pants legs, and he'd go up there to grab his pants, and that snake would fall out, and he's done for the rest of the day.
What about taking him out in the game? I mean, did you ever have some good conversations on the mound with him?
Well, I think I've told this story, but I'll tell it again. Before I got him, Bill Burden was managing Houston. I got him before the strike in '81, and I asked Bill about how to handle him, and Bill said he just wants to pitch every day, and every time that I would take Joaquin out, I would always tell him when he was starting the next game. I'd say, "Okay, Joaquin, you did a good job. You're pitching Tuesday." He'd say, "Okay, Whitey." But one day, in San Diego, he was getting bombed. Every time he threw a fastball, man, I was getting a headache. I mean, I went about as long as I could with him. I was trying to get him his 16th win. He pitched very well all year, but he wasn't pitching well that day. And I go out to take him out, and I couldn't go any longer. It was the 5th inning, and he had given up 7 runs, and we had scored 11, so we still had a 4-run lead. I was trying to nurse him through. And he says to me when I come out there, he said, "Hey, Whitey," he said, "what are you doing out here?" He said, "I struck this guy out last time." I said, "Yeah, Joaquin, but it was this inning."
Jack, Jack, you got anything on Joaquin?
No, not really. Just what a great competitor he was. Again, the guy on that team that every time he had the ball, you felt like you were going to win the game. With our defense, he threw that hard sinker, and ground ball after ground ball, and guys didn't hit the ball square a lot. And with that defense, Ozzie was always busy over there.